My name's Alex Rose. I'm not opposed generally, and I went to the previous presentation that was made. It was also good, but certainly not as polished. And I really enjoyed it. I think in the last one, what I heard was much more of the business case, both from the Parks Department as well as from the developers. And certainly, I think this needs to generate revenue, and that's why the city wants to do this. But I'm very interested to know if the city can tell us what its projections are in terms of revenue, as well as how, what the impacts will be by other events that normally are staged there. It's not just the chariots, but also there's bands that play there and other events that happen there. What I also heard in the last presentation, that was I guess about a month ago over near the Westminster Dog Park, most of the comments from the Venetians was about what sorts of concessions can your company make for us. And I think that's something that all of us are hearing. If this ultimately does go up and the residents who are less vocal, who don't come to meetings like this, all join us really having a lot more concerns, what can we do? Can you tell us now how we can voice that? And then finally, your last presentation mentioned advertising. And that's something that you do in other cities. And I think that many of us really appreciate being on the boardwalk because it's one of the few places that isn't completely overrun with billboards. And I'd appreciate if the board could make sure that you guys really ensure that our perceptions of what we expect will be ensured that they understand. Thanks.
Thanks, Alex. Dede.
Hi, my name is Dede Undead. My comment is general and really directed to Los Angeles City Recs and Parks. We do not have sufficient information to make any kind of a decision about this. And I notice here in our announcement, we say that it is a temporary structure. I did look it up. Great City Attractions, at least what I read on the internet, is a giant erector set. To follow on what Mr. Dufay was saying, that comes in 20 or 30 carriers. Now, where is all this stuff staged when it's brought in? And if it's temporary, are they going to be coming and going, like leave Venice when the fair is on, and then come back and have all those carriers running through our streets, our narrow streets? This Recs and Parks really needs to reconsider this before ever bringing such an attraction to a place like Venice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Tony Bill. I've been right on the same neighborhood for 37 years that this is being discussed for. And my only comment was that I think there's a kind of rush to judgment here. It seems to me amazing that so many people could be so quickly negative about something that seems to be have two sides to it. And I don't think those two sides have been explored very carefully or very eloquently. For one thing, I would like to see Windward resurrected. Windward is, the haven of drug addicts, drunks, gang fights, shootings. It's not the beautiful Venetian paradise that you all seem to be portraying. And to criticize somebody for coming here to make money off of something, I mean, if you want to empty the boardwalk of everybody that's there to make money, it'll be just as empty as it was when I got here 37 years ago, and there was not even a roller skater on the boardwalk. So come on, let's get serious about what the boardwalk is, what Venice, if you want to criticize what Venice is now compared to what it was when it was invented for Ferris wheels. It was invented for rides. It was invented for fun. It was invented for families. So I just would encourage you to give it a little thought, not just put it down or put it out of mind or put the people down who are trying to do it just because they, like the guys who are selling grass, want to make a buck. And whether it's $1 million or 10 bucks, that's not the point. So it seems to me that the Venice boardwalk, and especially the mess that Windward has become and is only now beginning to crawl its way out of, needs a little more careful and less 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 easy put downs than we've heard here tonight.
Thank you. Okay, Stephen.
Good evening, everybody. In all due respect to the previous speaker, I don't think Venice was invented. I think Venice was created by the Creator. The native Tonga people knew this place and loved this place. It was a peaceful place. It has a beautiful spirit. And that's underlying why we love Venice and why we are attracted to Venice. It is a beautiful place. It goes through many evolutions. But this, to me, is a garish imposition on the spirit and the beauty of this place. The ocean, the sky, the sun, the sand, we all love it. We all revere it. And there's a quality to the light, there's a quality to the experience of being on the beach, which is a sacred experience. I go down there almost every day. I love it, and I treasure those moments. This is a violation of that spirit. And if we want to change Venice, if we want to see Venice move in a different direction, let's call upon the character, let's call upon that character that is the spirit of Venice, that's here long before Venice was, quote, invented. So I came here to make a general comment, but after watching the demonstration and the presentation, which I appreciate, I stand firmly against it.
Thank you, Stephen. Nick?
I think what's important is the money angle. No one's really talked about that. It wasn't in the presentation. No one really asked the question, so I kind of did numbers myself. At 2,400 visitors a day, that's $13 million in year one. That's $39.3 million during the life of the contract. If you split it with the city, it's $20 million each. So on a $12 million investment, you're looking at a $20 million return if you're splitting with the city on a 50-50 basis. I'm contrarian, I'm a cynic at heart. I believe this is a done deal, and this is a show. The fact of the matter is this: where's Bill Rosenthal? He's our elected official. Where does he stand on this? How come he's not here tonight? Number one. Number two, if this happens, what dollars are going to come back to Venice? It's the question that nobody asks. It's the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Why doesn't anyone here put your feet to the fire, put your feet to the Parks and Recreation, say, this is not your money, this is Venice's money. And if you're going to negotiate something, negotiate from the position of strength. And if you look at these numbers, you're looking at a $40 million return in a 3-year contract.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, Todd and Yolanda, you were up too. You need to go speak. Okay, Todd von Hoffman, the sign guy.
Madam President, folks, good evening. Yeah, I love this idea right off the bat. I think it's beautiful. I think from an engineering point, it's elegant. I think it harkens back to the spirit that I love of Venice. That's Abbot Kinney's Venice that he created, and I've been involved in a few shenanigans that have helped bring some of that back to our historic Windward and some of my favorite saloon keepers over there, Daniel and the Ryans with our new speakeasy, and I think it's audacious, it's big, it's fantastic. I think Abbot Kinney would smile upon an effort like this. Sure. I very much concur with the comments made by Tony Bill, but I completely respect the bastard child scenario that we're in with LA, that, you know, we don't get a dollar value out from the city for the efforts and things that happen in Venice. And I think there has to be, until cityhood happens again, I think you know, we have to have some sort of open dialogue with Rec and Park about making some sort of mitigation for all these, you know, absolutely thoughtful, you know, notions that you're bringing up, you know, that are cautious remarks about. We don't have that infrastructure, and I'd love to see a beautiful restored colonnade and parking lot where that Graham household stands right now someday. We could recycle the steel and do that.
Thank you, Todd.
But anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Jim Uris, who was called the first round but didn't hear his name.
I haven't decided. I'm not in complete agreement with it. It's not a good thing, and I don't necessarily know that it is. I mean, you know, it could go either way. We have very little information, and I guess that's what scares me the most about it. It's being brought on as though it's a project that, 10 days they can put it up, but as somebody said that, what's the staging factor? When you look at the picture, where are the electric wires running and how are they getting them out there? How much disturbance is that going to create to the streets? And because right now the wires are hundreds of feet away. It's all these little details that really have to be looked at very closely before I would be willing to start to cast something. And somebody said something very early on about an EIR, and I think I don't know that an EIR is the right tool, but something along those lines that really talks about all of the details and the nitty-gritty. And I think that one of those big details that we have to look at is if there was an exchange of money perhaps coming back into the community, who would be the holder of that money? Because I think if it goes directly from the contractor to the city, we're going to get screwed. If there's a line item budget now that says that Rec and Park spends $10,000 to keep the park maintained, that line item budget will disappear and this money will subsidize it instead. So in the net effect, we won't ever see a penny of it. The money has to somehow be handled through some third-party independent something, so we can be sure that we're getting an improved revenue stream. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. All right, and rounding it out before we go to the board, Yolanda Gonzalez.
I've seen the one in England, and it is impressive. There are no lines hanging. Everything is very well calculated. And by the way, I am married to a man with an accent, and he happens to be a genius. The economic impact that I see that would be coming to Venice is that when I was at the CRA meeting on Monday, I specifically said because building and safety is going to make some different changes based on some new ordinances that are coming through. And I told them that we have neighborhood councils that we make our communities worth it because we know what we want in our community. Now, when I was a little girl, I didn't want to go to Disneyland. I wanted to go to Coney Island. And my parents took us first to New York and they took us to Cincinnati, Ohio. Alrighty? And let me tell you something. One of the things, we can negotiate this. I am a negotiator. And we can negotiate this. And we can bring an economic development into this community. And something like this, historically, if we are a board based on the charter, we can really do something fantastic. Let's not just throw it off the board, because if not, I have a place for you to put it. We have the river, Los Angeles River, that is in the process of being redeveloped, where where they're planning to put the new stadium. But let's not just throw it down the road, because we need economic development in the city, and we need economic development right in our area. If not, we're going to be in serious economic problems. And maybe Parks and Recreation can start putting some money back into fixing up and cleaning up our beaches. But let's not just throw it. I think it's a great idea. And I've seen it. I've seen it in Singapore and I've seen it in England. And they're fantastic.
Thank you.